Now, I know that you're going to be familiar with what I'm about to say, but just pretend that there's a world, and it all depends on you and your friends, since a prophecy tells them that you're going to save them all. That just sounds like every single other fantasy story, right? But no, change those characters into dragons and boom, you've got Wings of Fire. Hey everyone, welcome back to Books with Frank. In this video, of course, we're going to be reviewing the classic Wings of Fire. This is an amazing book that many people read, and I've been inspired by my friends too. So, let's see. Is it really as good as everyone says so? But first, tell me in the comments, how many books do you think are in this series? If you get it right, I'll mention you in my next video. But first, before we dive into the book itself, let's appreciate the writer for a minute. Tui T. Sutherland is born on July the 31st, 1978 in Caracas, Venezuela. She grew up in Caracas and lived in Asunción, Paraguay, Miami, USA, Saudi Amigo in the Dominican Republic, and then moved to New Jersey during high school. That's a pretty big lot of moving around. She's also enjoyed theatre in high school, especially backstage work, and often shares stories and ideas with her younger sister, Kari. Now remember when I said that it's a lot of moving around for Tui T. Sutherland? Well, that's no problem for her, because she's very interested in world travel and exploring places like the Watomo glowworm caves in New Zealand and the Amber Palaces in India, which inspired her fantasy writing. She enjoys watching nature documents like Planet Earth for creative ideas, and she grew up enjoying theatre and spending time with family. Her first job was a book editor in New York at Grosset and Dunlap, and then HarperCollins, working on series like The Warriors and The Seekers. She became a full-time writer, publishing over 60 books under her own name, with pen names including Tamara Summers, Heather Williams, and Rob Kidd. She's obviously best known for Wings of Fire. Have you ever heard of people talking about it? Other than Wings of Fire, she has other series as well that are well known. She has Pet Trouble, which is about dogs. She has Avatars, which is a fantasy trilogy, which means 3 books linked in the same story at each time. And Meanguri, a fantasy co-written with her sister. All in all, Tui T. Sutherland is known for her creative storytelling and exploring new worlds, both in her life and her books. Okay, so now before we get to the storyline of the book, this book, which is called The Dragonet Prophecy, is part of the first part of Wings of Fire series. Each part is 15 books, and there are 3 parts. 5 times 3 is equal to 15, and that's how many books are there. There's also going to be a new 6th book. Guess in the comments if you know what it is. I'll put the answer there as well. Okay, so we need to first understand what this part is about. It's basically about a big war amongst the dragons, and it's a prophecy that says that 5 dragonets will be able to stop it. I'll read it to you now. When the war has lasted 20 years, the dragonets will come. When the land is soaked with blood and tears, the dragonets will come. Find the ewing egg of deepest blue, wings of night shall come to you. The largest egg in mountain high will give to you the wings of sky. For wings of earth search through the mud for an egg the color of dragon blood, and hidden alone from rival queens, the sandwing egg awaits unseen. Of 3 queens who blister and blaze and burn, 2 shall die and 1 shall learn. If she bows to a fate that is stronger and higher, she'll have the power of wings and fire. 5 eggs are born on the brightest night. 5 dragons born to end the fight. Darkness will rise to bring the light. The dragonettes are coming. Now that's confusing at first. Like, what are sand wings? What are wings of night, right? So now let's explore the tribes. First, we have the mudwings. Mudwings are strong dragons, and they, of course, enjoy mud. Mud can help them heal faster, and it just feels good for them. They can hold their breath underwater for up to 1 hour, and can camouflage in mud pretty well. Their queen is Queen Moorhen, and they're aligned with Burn in the Sandwing War. Next up are the Skywings. Skywings are fast flyers and can fly up to great heights. They live in the huge mountains called the Core Clouds Mountains, and they're above where the dragonettes used to live. More on that later. Their queen is called Queen Scarlet, and they're aligned with Burn in the Sandwing War. Up next are Sea Wings. Sea Wings can hold their breath underwater for as long as they like because they can breathe in it. They have glowing stripes that can turn on and off on their necks, tails, and backs and wings. They use these to communicate in a language called aquatic. They have 2 hidden palaces that no other tribe knows. The Summer Palace and the Deep Palace. One very deep underwater and one on the surface. They're all aligned with Blister in the Great War, and they use the Summer Palace to communicate. Their queen is called Queen Coral, but there's been a lot of trouble in there since her heirs have been killed by some kind of weird assassin. But if you want me to explore that, let me know in the comments. Do you want me to review the other Wings of Fire books? Anyway, back to the tribes. After the Sea Wings, let's go into the Ice Wings. Ice Wings can withstand sub-zero temperatures and can exhale a deadly frosty breath that can freeze everything it touches. They have big claws to help them grab onto the ice, and they have kind of extra horn-like things, which distinguish them from other tribes. Next up are the Sandwings. So Sandwings are, of course, the color of sand, so they can bury themselves in sand to camouflage themselves. They, of course, can withstand heat, very big heat temperatures, can survive a long time without water, and they can withstand strong heat. They have a venomous barb at the end of their tail, which is poisonous, kind of like a scorpion, and they use that to fight. Now, they don't really have a queen because of the Sandwing Succession War. Back when Queen Oasis was alive, everyone was pretty happy. She was a great queen. However, later on, Queen Oasis was killed by a scavenger, aka humans, who was trying to get treasure. This split her 3 daughters, Blister, Blaze, and Burn up, and they wanted the power of Queen for themselves. So, since Blister, the very smart one, knew that Burn would easily be able to take it down in a duel, she turned it into a big war, trying to involve other tribes so that she might be able to help win. Of course, she went to the Sea Wings, Blaze went to the Night Wings and partnered with Queen Glacier, and the Ice Wings, of course, and Burn went to the Mudwings and Skywings. This is called the Great Sandwing Succession War. Up to our last two tribes. First, the Rainwings. Rainwings are all considered lazy and boring, and that's why they're used as insults. But there's actually much more to that. They do have tails to help them climb up trees, and they have camouflaging scales to be able to blend in with their environments. But the Nightwings, who wrote the script, don't know anything more than that. But Rainwings actually have a venom, a acid really, which they use. They don't like to use. It can be cancelled out with a relative's venom, though, which makes it really interesting. And finally, the mysterious tribe, the all-powerful one, Nightwings. Nightwings are said to have the power to read minds and foretell futures, but that's only if they were born with one or more nights in the sky. Since they moved to a place where it's a volcano, although no one knows that, they moved to this place where there's no moon, so they lost their powers really. So the Nightwings live at a place where no one knows, but it is a volcano and it was destroyed. So they moved into the rainforest now. But that's until the fourth book. Their queen is not publicly known, but she is called Queen Battlewinner and her daughter is called Queen Greatness. No one has seen her because she spends her time in a cauldron of lava since she was attacked by a Icewing. Now, Icewing and Sandwings have a big rivalry, and that's because, according to a legend, a person called Forcia stole, I guess, Prince Arctic, the last Animus in the Icewing tribe. They fell in love with each other and they had a child called Darkstalker. This caused big rivalry, and later in the book you'll find out why they hate each other more. Okay, so back to the storyline. There are 5 dragonets. The Clay, the Mudwing one, Tsunami, the Sandwing one, Starflight, the Nightwing, Sunny, the Sandwing, and Glory, the Rainwing. Wait, Rainwing? Yep, you heard me right, Rainwing. They couldn't get a Sandwing egg at the time of the brightest night because it was destroyed by Burn and Queen Scarlet, which is pretty cruel considering how it's their own eggs. They just hated the prophecy so much they would rather kill their own child than make it come true. Anyway, Glory is a very good dragonet though to the tribe, to their group. Now, they aren't a very strong group. Clay is clumsy and he doesn't want to hurt people. Sunny doesn't have the poisonous barb at the end of a tail, and Starflight cannot read minds because he was not born outside, so he did not have the power to look at the wings. Anyway, this book is told from the perspective of Clay, and he loves to eat. He's clumsy and the biggest out of the group. At birth, he tried to break the other eggs, and Kestrel, their Skywing Guardian, wants to get that monster out of him into the light. The Dragonets have 3 guardians: Kestrel, June, the Sandwing, and Webs, the Seawing. However, the Dragonets hate living in the cave they're trapped in. So one day, Tsunami and Clay manage to escape through an underground river and they circle back to get the rest. However, their plan has a flaw. They sent a big smoke signal into the sky. And, of course, someone sees it. Queen Scarlet sees the smoke signal and comes to the cave, killing June and taking Kestrel and the Dragonets away. Now, this leads to part 2, in the Sky Kingdom. Queen Scarlet is not a very good queen, and she has a very cruel rule. She traps her prisoners on very tall towers and forces them to fight each other in an arena. If you fight a certain amount and win a certain amount, you can escape. Here, Clay meets a very crucial character later on called Peril. Peril has fire scales, which makes everything she touches burns. This makes her very dangerous, and obviously, she's selected as Queen Scarlet's royal champion. Now, no one has been able to escape from Queen Scarlet's prisons because they always lose to Peril. I mean, who can beat someone with fire scales? But they can't just resign, unfortunately. Queen Scarlet's made it clear they must fight to the death, which I do not very like. Anyway, Clay, later on, and the other Dragonets, which are trapped, try to escape. I won't go into much detail, but basically, Queen Scarlet doesn't like them anymore. So instead of trapping them on a tall pillar, she traps them in a room and then creates a wall of bricks around them and sets them on fire. Now, Peril starts to move the bricks away because she loves Clay. And then they escape. However, this love for Clay is not a very good thing because then she betrays them to Queen Scarlet. Anyway, however, here they find out that Clay has fireproof scales and therefore can touch Peril, the only dragon Peril has ever met. Now, Kestrel, which, if you remember, was captured, had been called out on a trial, and this is when we start to realize that Kestrel is Peril's mother. Now, Queen Scarlet decides to execute Kestrel, but Peril wants to save her, so she calls upon the champion shield rule, a win to set the prisoner free. However, Queen Scarlet has a plan. She knows that Clay has fireproof scales, so guess what? She makes him fight Peril. However, this is saved because in the middle of a fight between Clay and Peril, Glory finds out that she can spit rainwing venom, and she burns Queen Scarlet's face, allowing for the perfect distraction, and they run. Now part 3, an egg the color of dragon blood. This is the part where Clay finally achieves his lifelong dream to meet his family. The Dragonets travel to the Mudwing Kingdom since it's pretty close to the Skywing Kingdom, if you look at the map. Glory and Clay go to explore the kingdom since Glory can camouflage and Clay obviously is a Mudwing. They find out that the Mudwings fight in groups of seedlings and they're very hostile to unsibs. They hate it when they lose too much of their group, so then they must get unsibs. Later on, they find Clay's group, and they find that Clay was the big wings of the group, which is the biggest of them. This was why he tried to break their eggs at birth. It's normally normal for a Mudwing to try to help the little baby Mudwings to get out of their eggs. So it was his natural instinct, never a monster inside him. However, there's the sad part. They realized that Clay's mum had just sold Clay for a couple of cows. But it's okay. The story ends right here. The next story is where they head to the sea, ready to find Tsunami's family. But if you want me to review the other books, tell me. This series has 15 books and 3 different parts, each one with a different prophecy, and it's very interesting. So, what's good and bad about it? The good. I like how this is a perspective of a dragon, not like many other books that are in there. They usually perspect dragons as evil characters or like a helper. In Aragon, there is a dragon, but they're like kind of a friend. It's not told from the dragon's perspective. Additionally, it's very relatable. I can imagine the peer pressure on Clay to get the monster out, even though he doesn't want to, and then find the joy and relief that he doesn't have to be someone he doesn't want is really good. This leads into my next point. Clay is a great character. He's funny, caring, kind, and clumsy, so that he isn't perfect, but very good. This is really funny sometimes when he makes kind of dumb jokes and funny statements, and it's funny to see how his friends react. And the protagonist vs. antagonist in the story is really clear. Most of it is Clay, Glory, Scani, Tsunami, and Starflight versus Queen Scarlet. But then they've also versus the Guardians and Glory and Clay try to maneuver through the Mudwing Kingdom. However, it is a little bit much. I mean, the part of the Mudwing Kingdom kind of felt out of place and a little bit rushed. It was like really quick. They suddenly find this dragon, and then they say, "Wait, I know, that must be my mum." So they go over there and talk, and then the mum says, "Oh yeah, I sold you for a couple of cows." Right, so it's a little bit rushed and not that deep. But the story's still very interesting, and sometimes more is better. So my final rating is pretty high for normal. 4.9 out of 5 stars. It's really amazing book, and you should definitely read it. Although it does have a little bit of violence, so if you don't want that, maybe don't read it. But otherwise, it's definitely the perfect book. Thanks for watching Books with Frank. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Until next time, keep reading, keep dreaming, and keep imagining. See you later!